I once thought that veganism was blowing up. I once thought that veganism was blowing up.
Ziemlich viele. Hier wird der Dislike-Balken auf einmal angezeigt. Warum gerade bei dem anderen nicht? Warum Veganismus eigentlich keine Rolle spielt. Erklärung von einem Veganer. Na dann, leg mal los. Ich weiß nicht, woher ich das kenne.
I once thought that veganism was blowing up, and I dedicated my life to it. But then I saw this graph showing that the number of vegans has remained flat for years. And this led me to an uncomfortable realization. A realization that veganism doesn't actually matter. I'm going to explain the 3 reasons why I changed my mind about veganism, and why, despite all of this, I am still vegan today. The first reason might be the most counterintuitive. Going vegan isn't the best way to help animals. And this might feel surprising because veganism has been the face of the modern animal movement. To understand why veganism isn't the best way to help animals, I need to tell you about my father. He's been a slaughterhouse worker for as long as I can remember. He was brought into that industry as a child by his own father, and so it's safe to say that we disagree about a lot of things. I mean, you should see the confusion on his face when he's sitting in front of a vegan meal.
Mushrooms, it's nothing yucky.
And so he's not going vegan anytime soon. But even with my dad, someone who's been
Gerade. Bitte keine Audioprobleme, das fehlte mir noch, ey. Vielen Dank für die Mega-Spende. Dankeschön. Okay. So, wo waren wir stehen geblieben? Das sieht aber auch jetzt wirklich komisch aus. Dann habe ich gesagt, wie rechtfertigt er das denn? Dass er nicht vegan ist.
Mushrooms, it's nothing yucky.
And so he's not going vegan anytime soon. But even with my dad, someone who's been part of the meat industry their entire life, there are places where we agree. Like if there were a vote on whether or not to ban factory farming, I'm pretty sure my dad would vote to ban it. And if my slaughterhouse working father would be in favour of a major goal in the animal movement, then you'd think that the animal movement would be huge. But here's the problem. When your movement is built around a major lifestyle change, one that many people find hard, you keep your movement small. We need to have as many people as possible pushing for a better world for animals. And by having veganism as the bar to entry to the movement, we are missing out on so many people who would support our goals, but who don't feel able to make this lifestyle change. And I don't think the biggest gains for animals will come from getting individuals to go vegan anyway. It'll come from changing institutions. The environmental movement learned this years ago. Do you remember when the advice was to take shorter showers? Now it's all about pressuring governments and corporations. And likewise, I don't think the animal movement's focus should be on lowering our harm footprints. It should be about dealing with the problem as best we can. I think this will make more sense once you've seen piece 2 in this video.
Naja, aber die institutionellen die institutionelle Änderung kommt ja nur, wenn man die Individuen aufklärt, oder? Woher kommt das denn, dass die Institute dann irgendwann eingreifen, dadurch, dass sich die Menschen ändern, oder? Also, ich verstehe nicht.
But even as individuals, going vegan is just not the best thing you can do. An organization
Sondern?
called FarmKind calculated how much someone would need to donate to have the same impact as going vegan. The answer? Just $23 per month. FarmKind directs people's donations to highly effective charities like Shrimp Welfare Project, where for every dollar donated, around 1,500 animals are spared from suffocating to death. That is wild. But the main point I'm trying to make here is that the way we use our money can actually impact far more animals than our consumption choices.
Ja, und was willst du damit sagen? Hä? Was ist das Argument jetzt? Damit kann man mehr Tiere retten, wenn man donatet. Okay, und was ist damit?
Now, if you're not vegan, I really hope this video isn't just making you feel better about not doing anything. I mean, imagine if someone took your pet dog or cat and put them into a chamber where they were unable to breathe. Imagine them squealing and panicking for up to a minute before they fall unconscious. Now, you would probably be willing to spend huge sums of money to prevent them from experiencing that. But we must recognize that it's not less bad if the same thing is experienced by other animals. And that is how most pigs die. But at the start of this video, I didn't just merely make the claim that veganism might not be the most impactful thing to do. I went further than that. I made a way stronger claim that veganism doesn't actually matter. Now, to understand what I mean, we need to look at an often misunderstood distinction, and one that I think has big implications for veganism. It's the distinction between...
Vegan Gains hat auf das, jemand hat das auch Vegan Gains gesendet und der hat darauf nicht reagiert. Der hat irgendwas gesagt über den, dass mit dem irgendwas faul ist mit dem Typen, aber ich weiß nicht mehr, was das war.
Intrinsic and instrumental value. Something has intrinsic value if it matters in and of itself. For example, if someone is experiencing torture, then that is intrinsically bad. The experience itself matters. But something can also have instrumental value. It can be valuable because of the effect it has on something that intrinsically matters. Think of money. A $100 bill isn't good itself, it's just paper. But we can use it
Meint der extrinsischen Wert?
to affect things that actually matter. Or think of the economy. The economy doesn't matter in and of itself, it matters because it affects human well-being. But people often confuse the means for the ends. We start prioritizing money or economic growth, even at the cost of people's lives. And I think the same thing can happen with veganism. We can lose track of the fact that veganism doesn't actually matter in and of itself. It is a strategy for affecting the thing that matters, which is animal suffering. But over time, we might start to confuse the means for the ends. We can start becoming hyperfixated on being the perfect vegan rather than thinking about how to most effectively help animals.
Ja, und das wäre was, indem man Omni ist und donatet oder was? Es geht um Rechtsverletzungen, die jeder selbst verursacht. Oder nicht? Also, hast du diese Logik in irgendeinem anderen Bereich? So, wenn man irgendwas Schlechtes macht, dann kann man einfach donaten, um das irgendwie... Oder was Gutes macht und dann kann man donaten, um das noch besser zu machen, aber muss man dann das Erste machen? Und wenn man das Erste trotzdem machen muss, so wie vegan sein, als Individuum, dann muss man ja doch vegan sein. Also.
And I think this tendency to lose
Und dann bedeutet das, Veganism matters.
track of this distinction can be invisible and really sneak up on us. Maybe
Aber ich verstehe den ganzen Punkt des Videos irgendwie nicht. Veganismus doesn't matter. So. Ja, was genau meint er überhaupt mit dieser Aussage? Ich verstehe diese Aussage überhaupt nicht. Verstehst du, dass Veganismus bedeutet, keine Rechtsverletzungen zu begehen als Individuum? Wie kann das nicht mattern? I don't get it.
we don't identify as animal activists, we identify as vegan activists, as the vegan movement. The strategy becomes...
So, der hat doch am Anfang diese Linie gezeigt, die so am Boden ist. Veganismus wächst nicht. Okay, und wenn Veganismus nicht wächst, heißt das, man muss nicht vegan sein, oder was? Ich weiß nicht. Ich kann nur die ganze Zeit Fragen stellen, weil ich seine Position nicht verstehe. Ja. Wenn Sklaverei legal wäre und es würde nicht steigen, die Anzahl der Anti-Sklaven-Menschen. Was ist damit? I don't understand. Trotzdem muss jeder Anti-Sklavenhalter sein. Oder nicht? Und wenn nicht, was ist das Gegenargument?
part of the identity. Maybe forgetting that veganism is actually just one strategy to affect the thing that matters.
Okay.
And I think this tendency to lose track of the fact that veganism doesn't actually matter in and of itself. For example, if someone is experiencing torture, then that is intrinsic bad. The experience itself matters. But something can have instrumental value if it matters in and of itself.
Aber dann muss man immer noch vegan sein.
And it might not even be the best one, so we shouldn't base our identity around it. And so if you realize that what matters
Your identity around it. What do you mean?
isn't veganism, it's the experiences of sentient beings, you also come to realize something else. Veganism is too narrow in its circle of concern, because the vast majority of animals on Earth aren't farmed animals. They're wild animals. I think we have a tendency to romanticize nature and the lives of wild animals, but actually they've got it really tough. I mean, human civilization is kind of built on getting us away from the harsh realities of nature. We didn't always have vaccinations or treatment for the most painful diseases. People didn't always get support when they fell and broke their leg. And most animals are still stuck in that situation that we've happily escaped from. And look, we should care about animal suffering, even if we're not sure what we can do about it yet. We shouldn't trivialize the suffering of any animal, even
Also, das Veganism Matter und wir sollten vegan sein.
if they're in a forest rather than a farm, and even if we didn't cause it ourselves. But if this idea seems really weird to you, you should check out this video I made specifically as an introduction to the subject of wild animal
Ja, ach da, ja, ich erinnere mich. Ich glaube, der hatte ein gutes Video zu Wild Animal Suffering. Aber was ist das jetzt für ein Blödsinnsvideo?
welfare. So, with all that said, why am I
Meint er mit, warum Veganismus keine Rolle spielt im Sinne von, der Impact ist so klein oder was? Wie kann man als Veganer so einen Titel wählen?
still vegan? Well, there are a few different reasons. First, all else being equal,
Es geht nicht darum, irgendwas zu machen und dann auf den Impact zu gucken. Also Impact absolut. Sondern eine Rechtsverletzung, die jeder Einzelne begeht oder nicht begeht.
going vegan still reduces
Meinetwegen würde die Anzahl der Veganer sinken weltweit. Was ist damit? Wait. Ist das vielleicht sogar eine Rechtfertigung, nicht vegan zu sein? Well, darauf kann man pressen.
suffering. I don't think it makes sense for me to prioritize the mild sensory pleasure I get from eating animal products over the far more intense suffering that it causes. And it signals to others around me that there's something wrong with the way we're treating animals, especially if I bring it up all the time. And secondly, I just don't see meat the same way that I used to. I used to be so detached from the, yes, very obvious fact that meat is the body part of an animal. Now that disconnect is less present. You know, I used to just see it as food. Now I see it as the flesh of an animal. And to be
Das war ein echt ekliges Bild, ey.
honest, I found it fucking disgusting. And lastly, by being vegan, at every meal, I'm reinforcing my commitment to taking animal suffering seriously. So I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't be vegan. By being vegan over your lifetime, you're going to spare a lot of animals from experiencing something terrible. Those consequences are real.
Und?
It's honestly one of the best decisions
Also was willst du mit diesem Video sagen, Alter?
I've ever made. But I am here to say that veganism isn't actually what matters.
Was meinst du damit? Not matters wofür?
What matters is animal suffering. And veganism is one method
What matters is animal suffering.
to impact that.
Ja, und deswegen müssen wir alle vegan sein.
And there is a lot less pain in this world because of it. But if we really want the world to be a safe place for animals, we have to think bigger than our harm footprint. And we have
Kann es sein, dass er das die ganze Zeit meint? We need to think bigger. Also wir müssen auch denken, dass Veganismus nicht wächst, dass man auch donaten kann und so. Aber was soll denn dieser schwachsinnige Titel? Warum Veganismus keine Rolle spielt? Was soll das, ein Clickbait sein oder was?
to avoid losing track of the fact that veganism is a means. It's not the end. We have
Okay. Aber jetzt muss jeder vegan sein. So, was soll der Titel?
to stay focused on impact, not purity or consistency. And maybe that means donating to effective charities. Maybe it
Okay, dann donate.
means getting more involved with the movement. Maybe it means
Dann mach das.
being open to strategies that feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar or unpopular. Like, I don't know what exactly we should be doing when we realize that we're living in the middle of something that future generations will probably look back on with horror. But I do know we need more resources, more charities, more ideas, more discussions, and more people. People like you, willing to act on something you already know to be true. Even in a world that doesn't give a fuck. Animals care about what happens to them. And so should we.
I don't even. Okay, ist ein Clickbait-Video. Unnötig. Ja, für diesen Clickbait hast du aber auch 150 Dislikes kassiert. Als Veganer sollte man nicht so einen schwachsinnigen Titel wählen. Aber ja, man kann mehr machen. Okay. Das ist das Fazit des Videos, genau. Okay, man kann mehr machen. Ich stimme zu und man sollte mehr machen. Ich stimme zu. Okay. Und Veganism matters. I don't even.